Alright, welcome back, grade 9s. This is the new work for you. Well, there's actually quite a bit in this chapter that's new, but for now, this is the new work, and that is multiplying binomials by binomials. Right, last year you looked at multiplying monomials by binomials. I'm going to write a silly example here for you just to look at. If I said x times x plus 2, you know to distribute it, giving you x squared plus 2x. And that would be an example of multiplying a monomial, a single term, by a binomial, a dual term, or two terms. Okay. But now we're looking at multiplying binomials by binomials. So these are two terms that are, well, binomials, both of them, and they are being multiplied together. And we do that in a specific way with an abbreviation called FOIL. And you can see I've written it out here for you, but I'm also reminding you that when you are multiplying things, always signs, numbers, variables, and with the variables we apply our exponential laws. And also I'm just reminding you to try and keep your variables in alphabetical order. Okay, let's have a look at how FOIL works. For the first couple of them, I'm going to stick to the same colors here, the red, green, pink, and blue, to show you what FOIL means. And we're going to keep drawing the little arrows as well. So FOIL means that I multiply the firsts together, so the first ones in both brackets. So let's do that. I'm going to multiply the ones that appear first in both brackets. So that's the x and the 2x. Let's put an equal sign here and an equal sign here because that's still going to be needed. X times 2x, signs, numbers, variables. Positive times a positive stays positive. 1x times 2 gives me 2. And then when we get to variables, x times x, same basis, multiplying, so we use our exponential laws, so add the exponents, x squared. So that's the firsts. Then we do the outers. Now the outers refer to the ones that are the furthest apart in the two brackets, so on the outsides. So again, the 1x is being multiplied by the negative 4. Again, signs, numbers, variables. So positive times a negative gives me a negative. 1 times 4 is 4. X times no x is just x. And then we move on to the pink one. Then we do the inners, the ones that's almost touching, they are on the insides. So these two are being multiplied. Same thing, signs, numbers, variables. Positive times a positive gives me a positive. 2 times 2 gives me 4. And x times no x gives me, well, x. And then lastly, we've got the lasts. So the ones that appear last in both brackets. So again, signs, numbers, variables. Positive times a negative gives me a negative. Numbers, 2 times 4 gives me 8, and there are no variables. Okay, a lot of you would stop here, but they are like terms. There's an x squared, but there's just an x, and there's just an x. So those would be like terms. I'm going to underline them. These are like terms. Again, reminding you, signs go with the terms. So the 2x squared is going to stay. Minus 4x plus 4x cancels out. Goes to 0x, which becomes, well, 0. So then it's just a minus 8 that still stays behind. And that is the quick and easy way of how we multiply these. Essentially, all that's happening is we are taking everything in the first bracket, so the x, and multiplying it by both in the second bracket, and the same with the second part, and multiplying it by both in the second bracket. Okay, we've got a bunch of examples here. Before we get to the more complex ones, I'll do that separately. Let's just look at a couple here. We've got x plus 3 times x plus 4. Again, like I said, I'm going to stick to my colors for now. First, x times x gives me x squared. The outers, x times 4, positive times a positive stays positive. 1x times 4 gives me 4x. Then the inners, 3 times x, positive positive, so it stays positive, 3x. And then the lasts, positive times a positive stays positive, 3 times 4 is 12. And you'll start to pick up a pattern here. These ones in the middle, 9 times out of 10 will be like terms. Not always, but mostly they will be, so watch out for them. The x squared stays. Now, positive 4x plus another 3x is actually going to give me 7x. Do this in this dark green. Again, that is just adding like terms. Okay, powers are not going to change. And then lastly, the plus 12 stays. And again, no more like terms, nothing more I can do. So that's how it's going to stay. Let's look at number 2. Same thing. First, positive times a positive stays positive. 3 times 3 is 9. Y times y is y squared. Then the outers, 3y times 1. Well, simple enough. Positive 3y. It's just timesing by itself. Then the inners, negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 3 is 6. And y stays. And then the last, a negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 1 is 2. And again, the ones here in the middle are like terms. So the 9y squared stays. Plus 3y minus 6y. Positive 3 minus 6 is giving me minus 3y. And the minus 2 stays. Okay. You can just move these equal signs up so they're more on this side. We've got a couple more to go through, and then there's 3 advanced products. So, again, first, 2 times 1 is 2. X cubed times x cubed, add the powers, x to the power 6. Then we have the outers. Positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. X cubed times y is x cubed y. Now this is where it's going to come into play, where I asked you to keep your variables in alphabetical order, or at least attempt to, because it is only there to help you. Generally, when you're going to say negative 7y times x cubed, you will say positive times or negative times a positive is a negative, 7 times 1 is 7, and then you tend to say y x cubed. And now it is a lot more difficult to actually see that these are like terms. Okay. Whereas if you kept it in alphabetical order, now they look exactly the same. And now I see why my equal signs were so far to the left. We still have to do the lasts. Negative times a negative is a positive. 7 times 2 is 14. Y times y is y squared. And again, we've got like terms in the middle. So the 2x to the power 6 stays. We've got minus 4x cubed y minus 7x cubed y. They both have x's and y's. Both x's are cubed, both y's are to the power 1, so those are like terms. Minus 4 minus 7 is minus 11 x cubed y. And the plus 14y squared stays at the end. Okay. Now, these ones are a bit different. These ones, there is something specific you need to notice. And this one, you should notice that now x is second in this bracket. Doesn't mean it's wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that now your like terms are not going to be nice and neat in the middle. Okay, but we still follow our same rules. So we still start off with our firsts. 4 times 4 is 16. X times no x is just x. Then our outers, 4 times 3 is 12. Positive times a positive, that's why there is a positive. Now our inners, negative times a positive is a negative. 6 times 4 is 24. X times x is x squared. And then the last, a negative times a positive is a negative. 6 times 3 is 18 and x. Right, but now it's not so obvious where our like terms are. There's a 16 and there's a 18x. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to put my negative 24x squared in the front. Then I'm going to deal with my like terms. 16x minus 8x is going to give me a negative 2x. And lastly, the plus 12 is a constant term. It's just going to stay there. And you'll notice a pattern. In general, again, I'm going to refer to etiquette or good practice, as in just how we do it neatly. Generally, you start with the highest powers first. That is why I rewrote it. Does that mean it's wrong if you didn't? No. If you wrote this as 12 minus 24, x squared minus 2x, it's exactly the same thing. The biggest mistake you make if you're going to write it differently is you leave the signs behind. Just remember that the sign is attached to the term. So whether it moves there or there, the sign goes with it. Okay. Not a lot more to go. Let's make some space over here. Let's multiply these out. Now I want you to take note of something specific about this example. And that's that these two brackets are exactly the same except for the middle sign differs. And that's a shortcut we're going to learn later regarding this. But for now, firsts, x times x, x squared. Outers, x times negative 2, negative 2x. Inners, 2 times x, positive 2x. And lastly, the lasts, positive times a negative is a negative, 2 times 2 is 4. And we've got our like terms. But now something special is happening. The like terms are exactly the same, except they have opposite signs. So a minus 2x and a plus 2x cancels out, falls away. Which means I'm only left with the negative 4. Okay. Here by number 6. Big red flag. Let's draw it. Here's my giant red flag. Okay. And I'll even write it here. I see this far too often, where you try and use your exponential laws, giving the x squared, giving the 6 squared, which is 36, And all I can say there is a big resounding no. This is not how this works. Okay, we can only use that exponential law of giving our power to each base if it is a monomial. Okay, I'll even go back here. Monomials, singular terms. There is more. Monomials, singular terms. Once it becomes a binomial, you cannot do this, because what do we have in actuality? Let's look before we get to advanced products, which I'll actually do in a separate video. This, in actual fact, remember what an exponent is. If I have x squared, that is just the same as x times itself twice. So by that same logic, if I have a bracket squared, it is just the same as that bracket times itself twice. So that means we still have to FOIL it properly. So let's go. First, just give my equal sign, and there's going to be another one. Here we go. X times x, x squared. Outers, x times 6 is plus 6x. Inners, 6 times x is also plus 6x. And the last 6 times 6 is 36. Leaving me with like terms in the middle. The x squared stays. 6x plus 6x is going to give me 12x. And the 36 stays. And here you can see that is the main difference between the approach that we're not going to use and foiling it properly, is that middle term that ends up missing if you just give the power to both the terms inside. Okay, these two are special. We're going to look at some shortcuts regarding this later once you've mastered foiling. And the next video is going to be very quick. It's just going to be on the advanced products. And yeah.